MDS, Mamdani Derangement Syndrome. For a guy who has ran a campaign that has been relatively clean and devoid of, pot shots at his opponents, they have found a way to demonize him, to label him an Islamic jihadist, a communist, what have you, right? Go through the list, right? And we got to talk about it. So today we're going to be taking a look at a video from the Jerry Springer of politics, none other than Piers Morgan himself, Piers Morgan Uncensored. And today he's had a panel on with Mark Lamont Hill, David Mattei, and a few other notable guests. So let's see what the right's response is to Mamdani's victory in New York.
Well, Mayor Mamdani's socialist program is about to have an uncomfortable brush with reality. The jury is very much out on whether they can really deliver on government-run grocery stores, free buses and free childcare, among many other lavish pledges. But the verdict on his campaigning style is resounding, and Democrats nationally will be taking notes. President Trump may call him a crazed communist, but he knows a canny operator when he sees one. Mamdani ran a populist campaign turbocharged by social media, which focused on massive changes to a failing status quo. It's all very familiar to the man currently in the White House. And Mamdani is the first prominent Democrat in what feels like an age to campaign on something other than calling Trump a demonic fascist. So has Mamdani cracked the code for a Democratic revival, or could his individual triumph drag the party down a far-left rabbit hole to electoral oblivion? Joining me to debate all this on a massive night in US politics is PBD podcast Angry Patriot, Vincent Ashana, the co-host of Her Take and former Democratic strategist Lindy Lee, the host of Bet News, Mark Lamont Hill, and a journalist at The Grey Zone, Aaron Marte. So a great panel. Let me start with you, Vinny. You must be absolutely delighted that a self-declared socialist is now in charge of New York City.
Oh, Piers, being originally from Yonkers, New York, it's just it's overwhelmingly just happy. Piers, if you told me, Piers Morgan told Vincent Oshana 20 years ago that New York City would elect a mayor who is a Muslim guy, who is a terrorist sympathizer.
Let's just start right there, right? Right off the bat, the first descriptor they use of Mamdani is Muslim, as if it's some kind of slur, right? It's deliberate. It's done so you create some sort of negative association with the word, despite the fact that it appears Mamdani has actually made an overt effort not to intertwine his faith into his campaign. They mention it more than he does. And they did the same thing to Kamala Harris, who made an overt effort not to mention that she was a black woman during her campaign. She didn't try to intertwine her identity into her politics, and still they criticized her for it regardless, right? Even if you don't do it, they're going to do it. Let's continue.
Who is anti-cop, who literally took a photo with a co-conspirator of the first World Trade bombing. Piers, I would laugh in your face, but guess what? The joke is on me, huh?
You just have to stop right there as well. A completely unfounded accusation. Mamdani got some pushback for taking a photo with a man named Siraj Wahaj, who was accused of having some involvement in the 1993 World Trade Center bombing. The basis of this accusation, the fact that he was an imam at the mosque where the actual conspirators went. That's it. It's like blaming Dylan Roof's pastors for what he did. It's complete nonsense, which is exactly why he was never charged. They never raised charges against him because they knew it was a completely unfounded accusation based on nothing other than proximity. But nobody's going to fact check this. They're just going to spew it and keep going, right? And if we had to stop to fact check everything this tomato's about to say, we'd be here all day. So let's keep going.
I'm telling you right now, Piers, it's almost as if The Dark Knight, the movie, Bane is there. Bane is going to be Mamdani, and you wait to see what he's going to do to the city. Okay, and Piers, let me back up a little bit. Shame on the Republicans, first and foremost. They couldn't pick one good, energetic, pro-American patriot to run. No offense to Curtis Silva, but he's too old. He's too boring. All right, the campaign was horrible. Piers, and guess what? No American's going to vote for a guy with a red beret. I'm sorry. That's number one. Number two, Democrats. All they had to put up to go against this guy, Piers, was a failed mayor, Eric Adams, who made it a sanctuary city, brought in all the illegals, crime went up, gave them money, gave them credit cards, put them in hotels, and then was like, whoops, I'm sorry I made a mistake. It was the Democrat leadership that made me do it. Cut to Andrew Cuomo, Okay, talk about a governor that failed. The alleged sex scandal, whatever you want to call it, and then he killed how many thousands of poor old grandmothers and grandfathers did he kill in New York? And guess when he apologized, Piers? Not 2 years after, not 3 years, the day of the election. He goes, "I'm sorry, I messed up." All right, which is absolutely horseshit. And I'm sorry for my language, Piers, but New York is going to get a taste of their medicine. I hate to say it, Piers, but sometimes you got to let the kid touch the iron and let him burn himself until he learns his lesson, and they're going to learn their lesson in about 1 or 2 years. You'll see, Piers.
So he has some words there on both Eric Adams and Andrew Cuomo, who I won't take any time to defend. Both of them, I think, are reprehensible individuals. They're corrupt. I won't carry any water for them, so I'll let his comments lie where they are. What I do ask is that you keep in mind how Mamdani is being framed here, right? A guy who spoke about nothing but affordability and access to food in the city is being compared to Bane from Batman. This is a Bikram yoga stretch. They are reaching. So Bane from Batman, because he's talking about affordability. Let's keep going.
Well, like I thought, you're jubilant about what's happened. Let me go to Aramati. You were making a few expressions there as Vinny was unleashing. I mean, from my point of view, it's very interesting because you've got results last night, which overall, a lot of wins for the Democrats, obviously, which is a good thing if you're a Democrat supporter. But two very distinct types of win. You've got the moderates winning, and then you've got Mamdani winning in New York, who's a self-declared socialist. These are very different pathways for the party to go. Many people feel that it's going to be problematic to have someone like Mamdani, who is incredibly charismatic, rapidly becoming the face of the party, but a bit like with AOC and the others on the left, in a general election, highly unlikely to succeed with that kind of agenda. What do you think?
I think the people of New York showed that Mamdani is in touch with the grassroots of the Democratic Party and the majority of the country. If you can get past the fear-mongering we heard from Vinny about Mamdani being a terrorist sympathizer and all the other smears that are used to dismiss his progressive agenda, he's not. He's just someone who believes that Palestinians are equal human beings. And for people devoted to the state of Israel, they can't understand that concept because they're Jewish supremacists, or they've internalized Jewish supremacy. But everybody else understands that in this era of Democrats and Republicans supporting a genocide, supporting an assault on working people, someone like Mamdani is a reasonable alternative. Yes, he calls himself a democratic socialist. Look at his policies. They're incredibly moderate. He wants to establish free buses for working people. He wants to freeze the rent in rent stabilized apartments. He wants to provide universal child care. All these policies are wildly popular. The difference is, and what's radical about him, is that he's centering working people. He's talking about issues that actually impact average people's lives. Donald Trump promised to do all the things that Mamdani has talked about, but he hasn't. He's just delivered for his billionaire backers and the cabinet that backs them up. So Mamdani, unlike everybody else pretty much in U.S. politics, with some exception, is actually speaking to average people's needs, including on the issue of Israel-Palestine, where people were just fed up with both parties supporting genocide in Gaza.
Okay, Mark Lamont Hill.
If you don't mind me, Piers, can I just...
Let's just stop there before Tomato Man gets back into the group of things. That is what a normal person's take on the situation sounds like, as compared to a grifter like Vinny, who's doing, everything in his power to maintain even a shred of relevancy in his recent fallout with the Patrick Bet-David crew and cast. Good take by Aaron Mate. Let's keep it going.
Okay,
can I just say one thing?
Quickly.
Aaron, did he not take a photo with the co-conspirator of the first World Trade bombing? Did he not take a photo with smiling, and I'm pretty sure you didn't say anything, and all that stuff that you said, all that cool free stuff,
respond. Yes.
Who's going to pay for it? Who's going to pay for it? Who is going to pay for it? I'm just curious. By the way, and show me one time that this has worked. Venezuela, Cuba, Soviet Union. Okay. Give me an example. Give me a case study. And hold on. Don't smile. I'll come with you. I'm all in. Show me when it worked, and I'll buy it. I'll buy it. Go ahead.
Before Mate gets into his rebuttal, I just want you to remember that Mamdani's platform was rent stabilization, opening up small business licensing in New York so that, streetcar and vendors and bodegas can get a faster path to opening up their businesses, and subsidized grocery stores, right? He is comparing those to breadlines and gulags. Complete historical illiteracy, but remember, it's intentional. They have a dialogue tree, and they need to stick with it. Any mention of socialism, whether democratic socialism or social democrats, lights up that part of his brain, and it signals him to go to the next talking point, right? Where else has this worked? Despite the fact that these aren't comparable situations, that's not the campaign platform that Mamdani's running on. But he doesn't care. He knows, but he doesn't care. There's no need for, there's no room for nuance, no need to address the actual points. Just wait for the trigger word and go. That's the way he's thinking. Let's let him go.
Okay.
Give it to me.
To answer your questions in order, in the course of campaigning, where candidates take pictures with literally thousands of people, he appeared in one photo with someone who was identified as an unindicted co-conspirator in a bombing he was never even charged for. So yes, people take photo ops all the time.
Yeah,
Andrew Cuomo,
unindicted meaning what? He was in the room.
Excuse
me.
me.
Give me a break, bro. Give me a break.
Again, he was the imam of the mosque that the actual conspirators went to. This guy wasn't sitting in a room with blueprints of the World Trade Center planning a bombing. But you would think that if you listened to Vinny and you didn't look into this at all by yourself, which is what he relies on. He relies on you having, misinformation. He relies on you just eating up the disinformation that he gives you unquestioningly, which a lot of people do, which is unfortunate. Let's keep going.
That's not what that means.
Andrew Cuomo has taken pictures with actual war criminals, unlike Zohran Mamdani, who rejects the endorsement of war criminals. In terms of how he's going to pay for it, he's already said he's going to tax the ultra wealthy a little bit more, who already make all the money in the world. That's who he's going to pay for his popular social programs. He's not proposing anything like we've seen in Cuba.
They're all leaving. And guess who's leaving? Guess who the mass exodus is going to be? Guess who the mass... And just out of curiosity, they're going to leave. Hold on, you know what you're not talking about? Who is going to come to New York? Who's going to come to New York? He wants to let people out of prisons. Okay, think about it. He wants to give away free stuff. Hold on, and he's pro-illegal. What the hell's going to happen to New York?
I don't understand how anybody really watches this on a day-to-day basis. This is some kind of spiritual and psychological torture. The Mamdani platform is to release criminals into the streets, hand out free shit, and be pro-illegals, whatever that means, right? These are the policies that got 2 million people behind him. These people are incapable of engaging in a good faith debate. Steel manning is a completely foreign concept to them, and they are obsessed with taking the most pathetic interpretation and then attacking that. It's because they're intellectually lazy, they're malicious. Don't forget that when you listen to them.
You're missing the whole point.
People like you. Okay, Benny, listen. People like you want to give away free stuff to foreign governments like Israel to slaughter innocent civilians. When have I ever said I'm pro-Israel? When have I ever said that? Listen, don't put words in my mouth.
To be fair, I don't think Vinny has taken a staunchly pro-Israel stance.
I pray for the innocent women and children of Palestine. Don't put words in my mouth because you don't know me, but I know this spiel. And you have to bring up Donald Trump. You always, and this is the problem, Piers, why these people have no leaders, no vision, no message. Because for 8 years you've been saying Trump, Trump, and when the dust settled, you have nobody. You guys hired.
Time out, guys. I want to bring in, we've got 2 other panel members. I want to bring them in. Martin Monhill, here are the things about Mamdani, which I like. He's very charismatic. He's got a very clear identity, I think, about what he stands for. He's an unashamed socialist. So he just says, this is what I am. There's something admirable about someone who says, these are my political colours. That's fine. I may not agree with him. He's an Arsenal fan, a very big Arsenal fan. He's been talking about it this morning. So he's clearly got immaculate taste when it comes to his football teams. But here's the issue, isn't it, Mark? For the party, I think it's if he turns out to be a massive success in New York, hallelujah, he might be the guy who ends up becoming the president, right? And the Democrat superstar. Here he is now in charge of the biggest city in the country on a very socialist agenda of giving all this stuff away. We've kind of seen a parallel for this in the UK with the Labour government, who got swept in over a year ago with a massive majority, and it's already crumbling at the seams. They're about to launch a massive tax raid on pretty much everybody. They're incredibly unpopular, and it's all gone pear-shaped very, very quickly. If that happens with Mamdani in New York, conversely, it becomes a referendum on the Democrats that their big star turned out to be, a wolf in sheep's clothing.
Wow, that wolf in sheep's clothing would be a bit of a leap, even if he were somehow not successful. But I think that there are a few issues on the table here. One, we continue to call him a socialist. And I think it's important to reiterate that he identifies as a democratic socialist, right? And there are different types of socialism, and democratic socialism does not support the abolition of private property. It is not saying that there's no democratic elections. Many of the kind of boogeyman references that are made to socialism don't apply to Mamdani's vision or his self-identification any more than it does to AOC or any more than it does to Bernie Sanders. I think one of the things we've learned in the last few years is that Democrats have played it far too safe. They're not speaking to people's needs. They're not speaking to people's interests, speaking to the fact that people need the rent to stay stable, that they need access to food, clothing, and shelter. That's what Mamdani is doing. And if for some reason he were not to be successful and didn't have a great mayoral administration, I don't think it would be fair to see that as a referendum on his ideology any more than all the other unsuccessful mayors and governors around the country or presidents around the country and the world who have had unsuccessful campaigns as capitalists and imperialists and fascists. We don't say, oh, maybe we should try something different. Sometimes it's about changing the driver, and sometimes it's about changing the direction. What we saw in New York last night was that New Yorkers want to do both. They wanted new leadership, but they also want a new vision. And I think that that's something that Democrats should follow, because the way they've been working so far has not been working.
Okay.
Please take a look at Vinny right now, right? Absolutely nothing going on behind those eyes. No clue what Mark Lamont Hill just said. He has no idea what Mark was just talking about. And even if he was listening, he's back in the default mode where he's waiting for the next trigger word to start his next dialogue tree. This guy has no kind of rebuttal because what Mark just said was nuanced. And Vinny doesn't operate in nuance. Let's keep going.
Yeah, literally, the thing that I would be concerned about if I was Donald Trump and the Republicans is that the running theme behind all the successes the Democrats had last night was affordability. And there's no doubt the cost of living crisis coming out of the pandemic, inflation continuing. Trump can claim some wins in bringing some prices down, others not so good. But this ongoing running sore of the standard of living for people in the bottom bracket of society in America is not going away. People feel angry enough now to vote for people who they think are going to tackle as a priority affordability. It's been very striking to me that Mamdani, he doesn't want to get involved much in foreign affairs. He wants to focus specifically on the ability of really impoverished New Yorkers who can't afford their groceries, who can't afford to rent a home, and so on. That has been something that's resonated. There's no doubt about that.
Mark, respectfully, it's great to be here with you, but I got to address some of the claims that you made. This guy literally said he wants to seize the means of production, okay? We're not slapping a communist label on him just for our shits and giggles. He literally said this himself. And Aaron...
I think it was in a series of tweets from almost like 5 or 6 years ago.
As someone who has fundraised for Democrats, who's been in the game for a very long time, I can tell you that politicians at a high level, they vet every single person in the room. You better believe that no random person can just take a photo with Kamala Harris or Joe Biden. We vetted them. Someone actually who owed $40,000 to the IRS is booted out of the room because they didn't want him to be seen with Joe Biden, okay? So this is very intentional on his part for you to say, oh, it was just some random dude who showed up. And not only did he take a photo with him, he decided to compliment him. That was a conscious decision. But Piers, going back to what you said, he did a good job of campaigning on affordability, yes. But I also want to remind folks that we were heading in the right direction, so much so that Jerome Powell decided to lower interest rates not once but twice. So it takes a long time to...
Let's just stop right there. Whether it's economic illiteracy or just a lie, I'll leave it up to you. But Jerome Powell did not do 2 consecutive interest rate cuts because our economy was doing so well. Rates were cut by 1/4 percentage point in both September and again last week in October. I hope Lindy can find the time to actually read the commentary around the cuts, which the Fed publishes. They come out and they say, hey, we're doing this because of this. Because the commentary states that, quote, recent indicators suggest that growth of economic activity moderated, job gains have slowed, and unemployment and inflation have edged up. And Fed Chairman Jerome Powell specifically attributes the cuts to his efforts to, again, quote, temper any further weakening of the job market. So rates aren't getting cut because our economy is doing well. They're being cut so that the economy doesn't get worse. And that's straight from the guy who's cutting them. Again, they don't operate in fact. Let's continue.
Bounce back from the mess that Joe Biden got us in, but we are moving in the right direction. And frankly, I know, Vinny, I love you to death, babe. I know you're upset about this, but I think this is the biggest gift for Republicans that we could possibly hope for. Because honestly, Marxist Mamdani, Rashida Tlaib, AOC, Jasmine Crockett, these people being the face of the Democratic Party is exactly what I want to run on going into 2026.
For somebody who claims to be, an experienced Democratic strategist and fundraiser, Lindy Lee is awfully embarrassing to listen to. I suspect it's a grift based on her past appearances on the show, and if you've seen her on the show in the past, you know exactly what I'm talking about. This constant revival of Red Scare tactics and painting the Democratic Party as Marxists and communists is pathetic. It's been pathetic since 2008 when they tried it with Obama. Remember, I don't know if you guys were watching politics back then. Obama was labeled a communist. You could open Fox News and just see new Obama era communist policy like XYZ. And, 17 years later, they're calling Mamdani a communist, as if these guys had similar platforms at all, right? Ignoring the fact that Abigail Spanberger just won in a purple state, but I'm sure she's a communist too to these people, right? We're all communists, everybody. Congratulations.
Okay, I want to just hold. Let me just hold the panel there. Let me hold the panel for a moment.
Yeah, because
I think we've seen enough, right, guys? So I think we'll leave it at that. As always, please like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoy the commentary. And thank you for watching. Take care.